Good evening, guys. Tonight I'm going to show you how to take a simple something that you've built in Vectorworks and turn it into a 3D print, or at least get you the file where you can put it on the 3D printer, and talk a little bit about some 3D printing basics. Okay, what I've got here for you is this was the 3D print of the campus I did a few years ago. A little out of date, but simply I just took a Google Earth file, downloaded it, and built everything. Nothing's in scale. It's proportional. It's fairly close. But this is just my interpretation of that. You can see things like the walkway's not there anymore and things like that. But I thought it'd be fun to go ahead and try to print the Rockefeller Art Center. So I built everything in 3D, just like you've already learned how to do. But what you need to do is then you need to export it in a file that our 3D printing software can understand. What I like to do, this was a huge project, and I like to, when I do the export, I like to just have a separate layer in which that file can be on. So I actually took and made, here, I'll just show you real quick. I made a layer called the print layer, and I switch over that layer, and that's where I've got the 3D software. That's where I've got the drawing itself. And what you need to do is you need to export it to a file format. The format file that the software likes is .stl. So you can go to export STL. You should find that down there. You can also import .stls. That's something that's only a couple years new to Vectorworks. But you could find another file somewhere on a website, bring it in here, modify it, and then re-export it and send that out. Or that's one of the things I wanted to show you tonight was actually you can find a whole bunch of things on different files. I've been forgetting this name all week, but Thingiverse is a great website for doing 3D prints and finding things. Things like if you also decide that, hey, I need a goose to hold my keys, you can click here and then you can download all the files that you need to 3D print that goose. So for instance, it looks like here they've got a couple different options: the body, the legs, and that's maybe the bill or something like that. So you have to actually do this in several different files at one time. You can put them all in the printer at one time if you wanted to. And you could download them if you wanted to modify them. Again, you could put them in Vectorworks. You want to make the goose a little bigger, you can definitely put it in there and do that. So one of the things I want to do real quick is I actually want to scale this real quick, because I vaguely remember I was testing this a second ago and I realized that one of the things that I did is I made these really, really big. So I'm going to make this 0.5 to make it just a little smaller. You don't normally have to. This is just something I'm doing for this file. So I'm going to go to File. I'm going to export .stl. Okay. And here's some different options. You can choose quality. It was defaulted to medium. I'm sure that that's fine. I did switch it to binary from ANSI because I was having trouble earlier. I'm not sure if that made a difference or not, but start with ANSI as the default. Try that. If it doesn't work, then do it again. I'm not sure what I was doing wrong a minute ago. So I'm going to go ahead and hit export, and it's going to want a file name. I'm going to call it the rack.stl. I'm going to save it to my desktop, and I'm going to replace that. So now I've got that file as a .stl file, and now we're done with Vectorworks for a little while. Next thing we need is a product called Cura. Cura is going to take that STL file and translate it into something the printer can do. There's lots of different programs you can use. The first one I ever used was called Slicer. It worked really well. The person who was teaching me, that's what they preferred. But Cura this is a special edition put out by our printmaker. So it's free software, it's open source software that they've adapted for their specific printer. So that's why I like it. And I do it because it's got all of our settings in it, and it just makes life a whole lot easier. This is Cura for Lulzbot. Go to the Lulzbot website, and that's where you're going to download this program from now. And you're going to want to do that for the project that we've got going on. When you load it, it's going to ask you for your printer. We're the Taz Workhorse. I've already loaded that one in. If you want to add another printer, you can add a printer here, or you can manage printers there. Okay. So first thing I'm going to get rid of this one real quick. That's just the default one that they came with. I'm going to go to Open Files. Okay, I'm going to open the rack.stl. And it's going to be there ready for me to print out. Now again, because this knows our file, because this knows our printer, like this is the size of the print bread. This is still a pretty good size print. So what you do now, I've got a video that's going to show you really how to use this program, but I want you to take a second to watch that. It's a 6-minute video, so I'm not going to go into too much detail here. I will show you a couple things. This is where you choose what different type of filament you're going to use. This is the plastic. The two we use the most are PLA and ABS. And what this is going to do, it's going to set it up. Each one of these takes a different bed temperature. This is the bed right here. That heats up to help adhere it to the thing. Excuse me. Then the nozzle itself needs to heat up to a different temperature. So this is going to have all of those settings in there. So I'm going to switch this one to, let's pretend I wanted to use ABS instead. Okay. And this, like the video says, this has got a whole bunch of different ones in there. Now, when you look at it, it's probably just going to look at like it's on recommended. That's fine. But I was just happened to click it to custom for a minute. Infill is interesting. Infill is, what it does is if you don't want to print a solid thing, Infill is going to make it so that it's going to put spacers in there. Let me just show you what that looks like real quick. I'm going to switch over to layer view. So if I take this and I'm going to scroll down, this is every single layer that it's going to print. Okay. So if I start to print it down, we've set an infill. It's kind of hard to see. Let me see if I can. Nope. These are little cross hatches in here. So it's a crosshatch pattern. It makes the print lighter. And this is how you can set how much infill it has. 30%, 40%, 50%, 80%. So 100% infill, that means it's nothing. Okay. So that's way too much. Leave it at the 30%, obviously. So it's not as much. Let's see which one this one is. Okay, this has very little infill in it. Now, this is not going to make for a very good print. It was set to 30. I'm going to keep it at 30. Okay, but you can also click on custom, and you can change things here. You can change the speed. You can change the temperatures. But this is where you would go in and change all of those things if you needed to. Quality is going to speed things up or slow things down. And let me click on infill real quick. It's at 30%. Right now, the infill pattern's at lines. You can make triangles, cubics, all kinds of other things if you wanted to. Again, leave it at the defaults for now. It's still going to make a pretty good print. So once you get all your settings right, you shouldn't have to put in any sort of temperatures or things like that. But just in case you want to know what they are, the thing to do, I've uploaded to OnCourse for you an actual manual. And I just have to remember where I downloaded the manual to. I thought I did it to preview, and now I can't. Oh, there it is. Okay. So I downloaded the manual for you on page 34. It actually tells you these are all the temperatures. Now, this is something interesting too. Some prints, if you're going to use them, like these nylons, require a glue stick. Okay. And ours actually came with a glue stick that you put the glue down, and it will help adhere it to the glass better. Most of what we do, like we say, we're going to do ABS and PLA. You're not going to need to do that. But here's the temperatures that you need. Here's the bed temp. So, and if you want to know the difference between PLA and ABS, Google it. I think, and I know we talked about a little bit of that in class, but it's pretty straightforward. One is a little harder, but a little stronger. One is a little more flexible. I don't know. Just go look those up. But all right, so we've got it all ready to go, and then all we're going to do is we're going to save to file. Okay, now it's going to ask you what kind of file do you want it to save it to. G-code. G-code is what our printer likes. And the reason we're saving to a file is we don't actually hook our printer up to a computer. We save it to an SD card, and you take that SD card, and it takes this G-code file. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. I'm going to go ahead and throw this on the desktop as well. If I can find the desktop. Oh, I'm getting tired. There it is. Okay. And we're going to save that to the desktop. And so now it's saved, and I would take that file and put it on an SD card and go hit print. And if we ever get back to the printer, I can obviously show you how to do some of these things. So just to recap, you're going to start in Vectorworks, put it as an STL file, remember St. Louis file, and then you're going to bring it into Cura. You're going to open it up, and then one of the things I did before, solid view, and the video shows this pretty well in layer view, but the layer view will actually show you where every single layer that it's going to print out. If you go down to the very, very bottom, yeah. Okay. One of the things that this is going to do, and I love it, what it does is it puts out the one around it here, just puts out a little test print to get the filament going, which is kind of nice. All right. If you have any questions, let me know. Thank you so much.